There is no game on this planet with a more intense shipping war than Final Fantasy VII. For 20 years, Square has prepared old spiky Mare to pair with Teef or Air, and it's fair that we care about this rare affair. Many have compared the Cetran Air who gives prayer to the repaired Flare with a pair so square. That took me 15 minutes to write, so the limerick ends there. The point is that the ambiguity of the inter-party relationships in the original game was a huge talking point. Who was the best girl for Cloud? Were Tifa and Aerith jealous of each other? All those questions were left to speculation due to the lack of voice acting. Though some party members turn in less than stellar performances for this top-of-the-line prestige title, the remake trilogy has allowed the most iconic band of travelers in video games to develop relationships with each other. While this is seen most apparently with the reinvigorated Aerith vs Tifa debate, although it arguably ended with that gold saucer date. There has been another relationship blossoming in these remakes, that being Barret and Red XIII. Now, as I said, in the 1997 game, party interaction was almost non-existent outside of a romantic context, so there's no reason that this particular pair is odd until you start to examine why they pair them up so often. There are two specific moments in Rebirth where these two unlikely companions are forced to work together, and one is a lot more, dare I say, intimate than the other. Now, I suppose you thought that I was about to go on an unhinged rant about these two being secretly in love, like that time I did with Sidon and Link. In that case, you should know that I believe that the murderer of a furry should receive the same punishment as if they'd killed one of the rodents that they love so much. So why are, or more accurately, why did the developers choose to pair up Barret and Red XIII so often? Well, the first time in the Mithril Caves, the reasons are kind of obvious. They want a level filled with sexual tension. Not between those two, between these three. They want you to start thinking about which girl you're going to romance, and so they put them next to each other so the player can start seeing which one they drift more towards naturally. The problem comes with the odd bloating of Remake and Rebirth, where every side of every story needs to be told, so this can be the definitive version of the tale. So whenever the party splits up, you can be damn sure you're going to see what the other side was up to, whether you care or not. So in this case, these two are paired up because they are the fourth and fifth wheels to Cloud's harem that he doesn't deserve, but I'm not even going to begin to get into that. It's just another unfortunate case of developers needlessly padding out their games with content no one really needs to see, which is a waste of time for the developers and the player. At least that's what I thought, until many hours later when Barret is the one who accompanies Red XIII on his trial in Cosmo Canyon instead of Cloud. And this is a particularly odd moment. Let's disregard the fact that it's Bugenhagen who selects Barret to accompany him, and take a look at why the writers decided that Barret was going to be the one to accompany him. Barret and Red XIII's expanded relationship in the remake trilogy is, if anything, an antagonistic one. But then again, that's how Barret is with everyone except Tifa and Aerith, and it makes sense for the most hot and level-headed of the group to butt heads often. So shouldn't that mean Barret is a bad choice to accompany Red XIII on his self-discovery journey? I suppose their relationship is a bit deeper than not liking each other. Red and Barret are the two members of the party who are the most serious about saving the planet. While everyone else's motivations concern Sephiroth or trying to get in Cloud's pants, these two are the only ones who never forget about the planet and try to protect it from all threats, be they Shinra or Sephiroth. In that context, I suppose that's the narrative reasoning for why they're paired up for Red XIII's trial. Cosmo Canyon is a spiritual place, where the beings most in tune with the planet reside. It's one of the strongest places for the planet to communicate, so perhaps it wants its two most enthusiastic supporters to be the ones who face the challenges to come. It was always weird to me in hindsight that Cloud was the one who helped Red in the original, as the planet would have to know about his connections to Sephiroth and be able to sense the malice emanating off of him and deny him entry. This is one of the significant benefits of the remake trilogy, fixing glaring narrative oversights that the team might have initially made, so keeping Cloud out of its most sacred place makes sense. Red XIII and Barret are a curious pair. Both want to save their homeworld more than anything else, but they want to do it in totally polar ways. Barret wants to use violence and intimidation to destroy the enemies of the planet as its proverbial sword, while Red is more focused on protecting his home of Cosmo Canyon, and by extension the world, by being the proverbial shield. So there is a thematic reasoning for why these two are paired up for such a pivotal moment as Red XIII's coming-of-age trial. The dynamic of wanting the exact same thing, but constantly getting in each other's way, is amusing enough to carry the banter through certain levels. If you'd like to learn about how the 7th Infantry is a sick practical joke by the developers, then click the box on the left, and I'll see you in another 2 days.